we kind of hit on it last night, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. But you know, I think that it's important for a real estate agent to go to a buyer inspection and attend it personally. Now, many agents would say that's stupid. It's a waste of time. They're busy doing other deals or whatnot, or they're busy sleeping. But I think it's really, really important to go to your showings or go to your inspections. And so, in fact, I would take less clients if I had to, so that I could at least go to everyone's inspection. So if your agent doesn't have time to go to your inspection, what are they really doing for you? I mean, what are they doing to earn their commission? They found you a house to buy? I'm just asking. Like, if I get huge and there's like 20 people that need to see me in a day and I can't do an inspection, would I go? Yes, I would always go. But if I couldn't, I would send like one of my own agents, someone that I trusted to go with me or on my behalf, because in a normal market, okay, you really need to have some perspective. You need to understand who your buyers are, and you need to understand the marketplace so that you can kind of bridge the gap and work with the sellers for an inspection and try to get it resolved. And isn't that the goal? If your inspector writes up a report and you read it and you're like, oh my God, that's terrible, but he didn't really mean it that way, or you maybe have never worked with that inspector before, you could end up killing a deal for no reason. Well, the reason would be that you were lazy and didn't go to the inspection. So the other thing the reason why I want to go to the inspections is because I want my buyers to know that I'm with them, and they've never met the inspector. They don't know anything about this person. And so, you know, if the inspector says, oh, well, this needs to be fixed, they don't know if that's like a dangerous situation or if that's just something relative to house maintenance that anybody would want to do. So I'm there, and what I try to do is I try to bridge the gap between the inspector and the buyers, because it's very, very off-putting if you're a buyer, okay, and you look, well, let's take a step back. Number one, there's a philosophy amongst real estate agents, some of them, that's like they don't even care about the quality of the house that their buyer makes an offer on. They don't even care because they know that the inspector is going to come in and say this house is terrible. To me, that's not doing your job as an agent, because let's just say inspection costs $600. Okay. Why are you having your buyer put out $600 when the house is terrible? And like, you already knew it. And if you don't know that a house is terrible and you don't know that it has a lot of problems, what are you doing in real estate? I mean, that's kind of your job. You kind of need to know a little bit about construction. I mean, who cares what color the wall is if you've got if you're looking at $20,000 worth of basement repairs or foundation repairs? I mean, it's obvious to me, but it's not obvious to those out there, I guess, because these agents get away with it all the time. But anyway, so my whole thing with buying a home, I mean, it already starts with, if there's something that we see in the house, you know, that I notice, first of all, I tell my buyers, and second of all, I mean, that is maybe a reason not to put an offer in on the house. Why go through all the trouble? Now, this is me, okay? If I have a house and it's got a bad foundation, okay, and I'm representing the buyers, okay, could the buyer buy the house? Yes. Should the buyer buy the house? Well, why? At what price? And to me, something that I've kind of felt as I've gotten older is, look, time is very, very valuable, or my time is very, very valuable. You can't be getting a discount on the fact the foundation is terrible and then get a discount on your time to fix it. It doesn't work that way. And so, you know, why go through that? Why be in a situation where you as an agent look like an idiot because the inspector comes through and says, how could you have ever let your buyer put an offer on this garbage house at this price? I mean, really. And if you think that inspectors, I mean, a good inspector sees probably 2 houses, 3 houses a day, and they see the numbers. They know exactly what a good house goes for in parts of town. So they know how bad of an agent you are. Your buyers are like, I don't trust this person because they couldn't even figure out this house was awful. But one of the reasons why I'm always at the inspections is because I like to bridge that gap. Like today there was a flex pipe in the drain. Okay. Can't have that in St. Louis County. It won't work. They don't like the flex. They say it creates a space for bacteria to grow and thrive. This is in a sink drain. So that's going to have to be replaced. Is that the worst thing in the world? Is that going to cost like, $500? No, it's not. And therefore it's not worth worrying about. Okay. And then when you're there and you're talking to the buyer, you're like, look, this will probably get fixed on the municipal inspection. If it doesn't, this isn't a hard repair. It's, 25 minutes of your time and going to the hardware store, get it right. Don't freak. That's just it. That's the issue. I found agents that like to find the most difficult inspectors, the most horrible people on the planet, who go around and measure grass height, okay, and complain about that. I mean, these are the kind of people that are just horrid. And then what happens is they make it so that the buyer feels no comfort in buying that home. They don't feel any sort of confidence, and so now you've killed your own deal. And for what? For what? The house was decent. You didn't. Now, on the flip side of that is, let's say you represent a buyer and you're paying attention to the color of the walls and you don't pay attention to the foundation or anything else, and you want the inspector to tell the buyer that the house is awful. Well, you're not doing your job as an agent. You're really not. I really question what in the world you're thinking. Now, let's be serious and let's be honest. I've had one house where I've had to walk on the inspection, and I've talked about it before, but let me just go over it again. The house that we saw was a very, very nice house, and I liked it, and we made a good offer. Okay. And we got the house. And so during the inspection, my inspector went up into the attic and looked around and said, you're not going to believe this, but some animal has eaten through the wood to the outside, and all this is going to have to be replaced. Now, was it going to have to be replaced tomorrow? No, but it was really bad. It was really bad. And we talked to the sellers and said, look, I mean, we still like the house, but we're not going to like it at this price. We didn't know anything about this. And they said, go pound sand. So we did. We left the deal. That's what happens sometimes. It's not something I'm proud of. I feel like I wasted those people's money, but they would have wasted even more money making those repairs. And this happened a number of years ago. So I don't feel too bad about it, but at the same time, it was, at the time, I really hate getting out of a deal. I had a deal recently where, I'm not going to talk about it because it's a relatively current deal. But anyway, I think that a reasonable question to ask a buyer's agent, say you're asking questions of buyer's agents, like you're trying to choose someone, like, you have to ask questions that are not leading questions. So I don't know how to format it the right way, but what I would do is I would want to know, hey, Mr. Buyer's agent or Mrs. Buyer's agent, if we get a house under contract, will you be personally attending the inspections? There's two ways they can do it. They can say yes, so that they get the buyer and don't care, and then not go and hope that the buyer didn't notice. Or they can say, no, I'm not real interested in sitting through the inspection, and here's why. Or they could be like me and say, yes, I'll be at the inspection, and I really will be at the inspection. I find it to be very important. It somehow, when you see pictures, somehow when you see something written up, it doesn't always translate to an understanding of how severe the issue is. So that's a question you need to ask your buyer's agents. Hey, if I decide to sign with you, will you be at the inspection? Another question you should ask, which I think is ridiculous in this market, and I'm seeing it. Mr. Agent or Mrs. Agent, if I sign with you and we do get a house under contract, will you help me through the entire deal? Or do you go and use a transaction coordinator or something like that, or a closing coordinator? If they say, oh, we're done and we just go to a closing coordinator, be skeptical. Be skeptical, because what that closing coordinator does, they're doing like 4 deals at a time. They're not at any of the properties. They've never met you. They don't really know the relationship between you and your agent. And it usually causes a mess, and it's unnecessary. Plus, again, what are you paying your agent for to work? I mean, what are they supposed to be doing that they're not doing? They don't have time for an inspection. They don't have time to walk you through a deal and help you through the deal to get it to close. These are not people you should be working with. This is my opinion. Did you ask for my opinion? Well, I mean, you kind of on the channel, so what are we going to do? Going to do, well, anyway, let's go over that real quick. Yeah. So the inspection today was great. Worked out really well. House was in great shape. The house had just been purchased 3 or 4 years ago, so there really shouldn't have been that many bad things wrong with it over time. I mean, honestly. So it was nice, and I was glad, and I think that my buyer's going to go forward with the house, and I think that's a great thing. I'm looking forward to them